Hey, how's it going everyone? This is John at The Drone Life and welcome to this video guide on how to inspect a solar farm with an infrared drone. On this very hot summer day, we are going to talk about how to set up a flight plan, some environmental conditions that you must be aware of, how to properly use a solar irradiance meter, as well as some of my personal practices that I do when doing these solar farm drone inspections. There will be timestamps in the video description so you can skip around if you want, and let's get into how to inspect a solar farm with an infrared drone. So the most important part of the drone inspection is obviously your aircraft and what kind of thermal camera you have. So I personally use a DJI Matrice 210V2 drone with an XT2 19mm thermal camera. And there are a lot of different drone models and thermal cameras out there that work great for solar. And we actually made a in-depth article that I'll link below. It goes over budget-friendly drone models, some mid-tier ones, and then the top-of-the-line models. If you're in the market to buy a thermal camera and a drone that are perfect for solar inspections, definitely take a look at that article below. So when I first arrive at a site, the first thing I do is actually a site walk-around. So before I set up all my equipment and gear, is I actually take a perimeter walk around the entire site. And so if it's a solar farm like today where it's out more remote, then I'll just be looking for trees, some telephone poles, power lines. And if it's gonna be in a more populated area, like say you're gonna be doing a really busy warehouse or rooftop system when there's gonna be a lot of commotion going on, there's definitely a lot of obstacles and just people around and cars. So you have to just be aware of your entire surroundings when you're doing the inspection. And when doing these inspections, there is a lot of equipment that you need to have and bring. And in the future, I'm gonna be doing a really in-depth video that talks about all the equipment that I actually bring to the sites. And so definitely subscribe and don't miss out on that video. Something else I do is pick my takeoff and landing location far away from any metal objects. So you have the panel mounts, you have the fencing, the inverter boxes. All of this stuff can actually cause magnetic interference with the drone when it's taking off. And so I do that. And then also something else to really keep in mind is you want to have a landing pad. So a lot of people, kind of skip out on the landing pad, but especially if you're inspecting, a desert site, if you're out, in like Arizona, Nevada area, all that dirt that gets kicked up can really get inside the aircraft and it can mess up the motors. So just use a landing pad and you'll be fine. Something else that's really important for a good inspection is having the optimal weather conditions. Ideally, you want to have clear skies and do the inspection when the sun is at its peak. So around 11 a.m. through around 3 or 4 p.m. is best. If there's too many clouds, then there won't be enough sun energy hitting the panels, and it's going to actually make it a lot harder to distinguish anomalies using the thermal camera. And if you're unsure, if you should be doing the inspection or not, this is where a handy device called a solar irradiance meter comes in. When doing a thermal inspection of a PV system, you need to understand how much sun energy is actually hitting the panels. This is usually measured in watts per meter squared, and to do a infrared inspection of a solar farm within IEC standards, you need to have a minimum level of irradiance of 600 watts per meter squared. To figure out this number, we use a device called a solar irradiance meter. So to measure the irradiance is fairly simple. All we have to do is make sure our sensor is lined up with the tilt of the panels. So we just need to put this right around here at the edge. Our sensor is lined up with the tilt of these panels, and then we have our readout. I personally set a timer on my phone for around every 20 minutes to check the irradiance. You can use pen and paper to jot this down, or you can take a photo of the screen readout each time, which is what I do. Since our phones actually tell us the time pictures were taken, I can easily in the office and go look at my photos and fill out the inspection report. Even if you can't be physically right next to the panels on a carport, for example, you can still measure the irradiance near them as long as the sensor is at the same angle as the panels. It's very important to check the irradiance throughout the entire inspection because weather conditions can change if the sun begins to set or clouds come in. As we can see, there's a bunch of clouds behind me, so every time one of these clouds goes over the sun, then the irradiance would typically drop below 600 watts. Speaking of the sun setting, you do not want to be doing your inspection within 2 hours of sunrise or sunset. The sun would be so low on the horizon that the irradiance would be much lower than 600 watts. So that was how to use a solar irradiance meter for a successful drone infrared inspection of a PV system. And if you're looking to get one of these, I'll definitely link this one below. It's super easy to use, it's pretty inexpensive, and I'll put that link below and you can go check it out if you want. There's a few more weather factors that we do have to talk about. The next one being is there can't be any recent rain. The panels have to be dry. So, there can't be any dew on the panels, there can't be snow on the panels. The panels must be completely dry for the inspection. Also wind, so you can't be doing the inspection with wind over 15 miles per hour, because what it does is actually, once it goes over the panels, it makes a cooling effect and it can make the irradiance below 600 watts. I personally use a handheld device called an anemometer. It actually tells us the wind speed right there in real time, so which is super neat. And if you're looking to get one, this one I have is super inexpensive, it's easy to use, and I'll put that in the video description as well. Lastly is humidity. So you ideally want to have less than 60% humidity, but this isn't really always possible depending on the time of year and your location. So if you need to, then it's definitely acceptable to go above 60%. Now we're going to do a flight plan and all the different settings that you need to account for. And just a disclaimer, depending on what type of drone model and what kind of camera you have, this might be different. So I personally, again, have the Matrice drone with the XT2 camera. So it might be different for, if you have the M300 drone with the H20T camera. And you might not even use this application that I have, which is called GS Pro, which is unfortunately only available on iOS devices. So just keep that in mind, that some of these settings might not be exactly what you use if you don't have the same hardware and equipment that I do. It's also best practice to set up the flight plan when you're still at the office, so you can just arrive at the site and then start flying immediately. So in the GS Pro application, first thing we're gonna do is do a new mission. So we're gonna click on the plus icon down here, and then click on Photo Map, and then on just like the tap with the box. And then we are going to have be at our site, or just find it on the map, since you're gonna be at the office when doing this. I'm personally out in the field right now because I'm filming this entire video out in the field, but you're going to have to just go find the site on the map. And so here we're at the site. This is actually what we're going to be inspecting today, not the entire site. We're only going to be doing actually a smaller portion because there's just some monitoring issues in this one area. And so we're going to have this box right now, and all we have to do is actually just drag these dots around the area that we will be inspecting. And then in a case like this, if you need to make some more dots, and you just hold on to like this plus where it says the 635 feet, and then a new dot will be there, and yeah, I can just kind of make some more. Make sure you just leave a little bit of room on each side. You don't want it to be so close, like right at the edge. Just leave a little bit of room on the sides. And if you have to delete one of these little dots, then you just click on the bottom right here. There's a little trash icon. Click on that and it just deletes. Okay, and then now on the right hand side, this little white box at the top, we can actually name our mission if you wanted to do that. And then below that, we have the camera model. So you want to select the type of camera that you have. So personally, again, I have the XT2 camera, which the GS Pro is kind of like an older application and it's not updated. So you have to click on the Zemuse XT, which is just like an older version of the XT2. And it's completely fine. Everything is still going to work exactly the same. And then you're just going to want to put in your millimeter length lens on there, because there's different lengths, different models of the XT2 camera. And then we're just going to add that camera and then click on it, and then it's right there, Zemuse XT2. And then moving on to the shooting angle, we are going to want to do perpendicular to course. And then on capture mode, we're going to want to do equal time interval, and distance interval can also work too. I just do equal time interval. And then for the flight course mode, we're going to keep it there on inside. Now looking at the speed, shutter interval, height, and resolution, again, this stuff can really differ depending on your type of drone, camera, and what kind of inspection you're performing. So there are different levels of inspection. For example, you can have the drone be flying really high up and it will complete the inspection really quickly, but the downside is that the data from the camera won't be that detailed and you won't be able to find that many anomaly types. As opposed to doing a much more in-depth inspection where the drone will be flying a lot closer to the panels, it will take longer, but you will be able to diagnose a lot more different kinds of anomalies. So for this inspection, I'm personally going to be doing one called a standard level inspection, which is kind of like in the middle. And so my speed needs to be around 10 miles per hour, and so the speed and the shutter interval go hand in hand. So I can't actually adjust the slider. It's locked, so you have to click on where that says the 1.0 seconds. And then for this, I would need to be 1.5 second shutter interval for around 10 miles per hour. And you can adjust this, you know, a little bit more up or down, you know, but you just don't want to go too fast because then the images can be blurry. And if you go too slow, then you're really just wasting your own time and wasting a lot of battery. And for the height of this inspection, I'm going to be doing around 200 feet. But take a look at these green lines and look at what happens when I move the slider around. So if I, you know, did a much higher altitude inspection at, like, say 375 feet, look at how minimum amount of passes the drone actually has to make across these panels. So this inspection will be done really fast, but then again, the detail will not be as great. And then if I go to a much lower altitude, there's going to be many more passes of the drone. So we're going to keep this at around 200 feet. And now going into the advanced settings, we're going to have the front overlap ratio at 80% and the side overlap at 20%. And basically what this means is that every photo is going to overlap on top of each other, which is good so we don't miss any panels. And it's also useful for our softwares that actually make a map of the entire solar system so we can easily reference and geotag anomalies. And before we talk about the course angle, there's an important note that we have to discuss, which is the camera tilt needs to be perpendicular to the tilt of the panels. So I'll put up a video right now showing what the camera tilt should look like, and you are allowed to deviate up to 20 degrees if there is significant glare on the panels going into the camera lens, which can happen on, you know, certain times of day with the sunlight. And now the course angle is actually a setting that a lot of people really mess up when doing these inspections. So the course angle are these green lines that the drone will be flying on, like we talked about before. And so if I move the slider around, you will see the lines also move around. And so what we need is these lines to be parallel to the row of panels. So right now at 0 degrees, these are going to be parallel. As you can see, like the lines match up right with the rows of panels, but there's two different ways to do this. So these panels are actually tilted right now to the south, which is down here towards the farmland, and we need the front of our drone to be facing towards the north. So we need the front of our drone facing towards the road up here. And so if we did the course angle at 0 degrees, the drone would start down here at the S, but the front of the drone would be facing towards the farm fields, which is also where the panels are facing. So we actually need to change the course angle to 180 degrees. And so now the drone will start up here at the top of the site at the S, and the front of the drone will be facing the road. And so this is important because, like we said before, how the camera is tilted needs to be perpendicular to the tilt of the panels as well. So I'll put up a video of what happens if we did it the other way and how the camera would actually be photographing a lot of like the back of the panels, which is definitely what we don't want. And now looking at the margin, so we're going to keep this at 0 feet, and the end of mission action is what the drone does once the mission is over. So you should leave it on hover so that you can manually fly it back to the takeoff position. You know, you can do return to home. Definitely don't do land. We don't want the drone landing within the solar field. Okay, so that's all the settings that we had to do in GS Pro. And one more thing to note is that at the top here we have some good information about the flight. So we have the flight length in feet, we have how many acres, we see the estimated flight time and how many batteries approximately. So a bunch of great information here. And so now we have to go turn on the drone. Okay, now we have the drone on, and we're going to go to a different app now called XT Pro to set up the thermography settings. So in here at the left, we're going to go to palettes, and we're going to be selecting doing white hot, which is really just the best for solar. I mean, fusion and black hot do also work too. You can kind of do them hand in hand, but white hot is just personal preference there. And then isotherms, we're just going to leave these off. We're just not going to really mess with those. And then go into the settings here. So the photo mode, this is really important. Photo mode needs to be radiometric JPEG at the top here. So basically, if it wasn't like that, then when you get back to the office, then there wouldn't be any metadata in the photos. So like you wouldn't be able to get temperature measurements, you know, from using a software platform like FLIR, FLIR tools, stuff like that. You wouldn't be able to actually get the measurements later on the computer. And then, you know, some cameras like the XT2 has a feature called MSX, sorry. That one right here we're going to keep off. And then anti-flicker, that's just going to be on auto. Shoot angle single, a lot of the stuff will stay the same. Region of interest, we're just going to leave exclude none. And then gain, we're going to have on auto. Scene is going to be default temperature. This is just, you know, wherever you live. And then you can do your own critical low battery warnings as you so please. And then we don't really need to set up any custom buttons unless you really want to. And once you make sure all these settings are correct, we're going to go back to GS Pro and just make sure that you keep both of these applications running in the background. So you don't want to close them out. And you also, but you do want to close out of any other flight apps or software. So if I had, you know, DJI Pilot or something, just close those out, or Drone Deploy. We just want to have XT Pro and GS Pro open. Okay, now we just want to double check all of our settings. So go through these again, you know, verify they're all correct. And it's really a good idea to have a checklist of this stuff as well. So you can go, our basic ones look good and our advanced ones look good as well. And now we want to, you know, do our regular pre-flight checklists that we do for any flight, whether or not we're inspecting solar panels. So we're going to be looking at our battery voltages, seeing if we have any magnetic interference, making sure our return to home altitude is in par with the Mocha, and making sure all of our settings are correct. And so we have the satellites, we have good connection. And so what we're going to do is click on the top right, we're going to click on the airplane icon and verify all these settings. And the camera does have an error because we are, again, using the XT2. And if you remember, there's no selection on GS Pro for the XT2, so that's why there's an error, because it says the XT. And so we're just going to be verifying all this, and it looks good. And we're going to click on start the fly, and the drone will take off. Okay, so the drone is now heading to its starting location. We can see actually down here like a good view of the panels, and we need to just line up the camera real quick, make sure it's going to be at the right pitch. The drone is now autonomously flying the rows of panels, and you as the pilot have a special job of monitoring the systems like the GPS and the voltage of the batteries to make sure everything's working properly, as well as you always need to have visual contact, you know, being able to see the drone with your eyes throughout the entire flight. That actually is a law with the FAA, and it's also important because I've had birds go to attack my drone all the time. And then you also need to be, you know, aware of your surroundings with other manned aircraft. You know, luckily not when I was flying, but I've seen helicopters go, you know, 200, 300 feet high. So again, like I mentioned, you can deviate the camera up to 20 degrees if you are experiencing any bad glare. And if you look at the top right of the screen, you see the 76, that's actually my tilt angle in degrees. So right now I am kind of perpendicular to the tilt of the panels, but you know, I can make this and make it go nadir and go to 90 degrees, which is straight down. And so you just need to kind of find the balance between what's good for your inspection, because you know, the sun, depending on the type of day, time of day that you're doing the inspection, or any other kind of factors, you need to have this all into consideration. So you can see on the right side of the screen, the white circle, that's the shutter, and it's actually taking the photos. I believe it was every 1.5 or every 2 seconds. And it just does this automatically. So you don't have to, you know, manually press any buttons or anything. And if you're enjoying this tutorial so far, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps us out to, you know, make more videos like this in the future. And you know, I'm very excited to make this report. As you can see, there's already some anomalies on the screen right now. There's a ton of them that I also, you know, wasn't recording on the screen right here. And so once this inspection is done, I'll actually go fly the site manually, and just to show you guys what I'm talking about, and just go over some of the different types of faults that are actually showing up here. So this inspection is actually almost done. So we've done all this stuff up here already, and we just have these few extra green line passes down here. And you know, our battery's at 74%. The drone's been flying for around 6 or 7 minutes, and we're more than halfway done this inspection. So right now we can actually see on the screen some diode defects right in the middle. Right there, a new string one just popped up, and looks like there's some more cell ones in the bottom right now. Some more diode right in the middle, and so we can kind of just really pick out these anomalies right from this camera. Of course, we still have to actually put these images into the post-processing software to verify exactly what those issues were, but it's just giving you, a good idea of how quickly and fast you can just put up the drone with the thermal camera and start to spot a lot of these anomalies. So when you're out here in the field, you definitely want to be backing up your pictures. So you want to bring your laptop, and I personally, after each battery change, take out the micro SD card and upload the photos. And then once you're actually done the inspection, you want to go into your post-processing software, whichever one you use, and upload all the images when you're still at the field, because some parts of the site can get missed, or maybe your images were blurry or they were at the wrong angle. And so you just need to verify this data out in the field. You don't want to go back to the office and then realize everything was incorrect. So that's just a good practice to do. Okay, so it's just actually finishing up one of the last passes. The drone is just going to go to the left right now, go down, and then go a little bit to the right, and then this inspection will be done. Okay, here's the final pass, and the drone is about to be complete. And there we have it. That is the infrared drone inspection of the solar farm. And now we just have to manually fly the drone back. And looking at the timer on my phone, from takeoff to landing, this inspection took exactly 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Now let that sink in for a second. 11 minutes and 47 seconds to do a drone inspection of this solar farm. And we do have to, put these again into the post-processing software, which should take around 1 or 2 hours to do that. But just overall, think about what it would have been like doing these inspections manually, whether it's just handheld thermal imagers doing IV curve tracing, or even they do just doing a visual inspection of the panels. And the data you get from any of those, in most cases, will not be as accurate and detailed as the drone. So 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Okay, now we're going to get into the manual flight. I'm just going to go around the farm a little bit and just show you some of the stuff I saw. And I switched over to the Crystal Sky monitor and not the iPad anymore. I just prefer flying manually with the Crystal Sky. So sorry if there's any glare from the screen, since I'm not screen recording anymore. But let's just go over here. As we can see, there's a ton of issues that we see over at the top of this farm over here. All these little white spots, some kind of problem. Of course, we don't know. I can't say for certain 100% what it actually is. That all happens in the post-processing software. But we can just go have fun and go look at it. And by the way, I am using the Fusion color palette now. I can switch over to, that's black hot, and then the white hot if I wanted to. So you can see similar results with that stuff. We saw some string ones, but there are a bunch of diodes I did see. Here's 2 of them right here. Let's actually get down a lot lower. I'm at like 200 feet right now. Let's get down pretty low and take a look at this stuff. Okay, so 84 feet. We see some of these diode faults right here. And you can see, like, as I move the drone around, like the reflection of the sun, how it like shows up on the panels a little bit. Up here we have, if I get the correct pitch angle, I need to do that on the camera. So closer up, some panels that have some issues over here. And then if I go fly back towards the top area, which is where most of the problems are, it's just a minefield. And this is something that we don't find every day. This is actually reverse polarity. You can see that on the camera with the glare of the screen. And it really is this easy to inspect these panels with the drone. And it's beeping right now because it is a low battery. I have to come land it. Overall, drones and solar for these inspections using these infrared cameras, it's just how quick and easy this is. And it's just so much cheaper too than having people go out and do this stuff for days to inspect these. So that finishes it for the flight portion. And I hope you guys really enjoyed that and got some out of that. So that concludes today's video on how to use an infrared drone to do a solar farm inspection. If you learned anything new or if you enjoyed the video, definitely let us know in the comments. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to personally reach out to me on LinkedIn, or if you want to have us come out and inspect one of your sites, you can schedule a phone call on our website. And I'll leave you with this video to check out about 7 mistakes that you need to avoid when doing your drone solar panel inspection. There's a bunch of stuff that I didn't cover in this video. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.